Here's how to have difficult conversations in marriage. 1. Raise your voice at your partner to make sure you're being heard.
2. Make sure you repeat it and keep repeating it just in case they're dull of hearing.
3. If all else fails, take it to the court of public opinion on social media just to make sure you gain sympathy.
And I can assure you, you would have had difficult conversations properly.
All right, guys. That was not, and that is not our advice. Before we go on, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to our channel. Soon to become the Daniels. It's currently Tommy Daniels, but you know, Mr. Daniels just keeps coming back. I don't know what to say. Anyway, my name is Tommy Daniels.
And I'm Seyi Daniels.
And thank you so much for coming, or coming back if you're a returning viewer or subscriber.
And if this is your first time, thank you so much for stopping by. Make sure you subscribe, click on the notification bell so that you would be the first to know when a new video is out.
All right, today we're talking about how to have difficult conversations in marriage, and I think also how we have difficult conversations. And I guess even just again, this is not a we know how to do it, because I guess as you would soon realize in this video, we're also still figuring it out. But I guess what we've learned so far, we've been married now for about 4 years and 4 months, 5 months, no, 4, about 4 months, 4 years and 4 months now. So I guess we have a little tiny weeny bit of experience, and above all, with God's wisdom. Okay, so Shay.
And I think also it could just be a conversation starter, to be honest.
Yes. So have we ever had difficult conversations?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, if you're married for a day, well, you probably haven't. But if you're married for a year, chances are that you would have had quite a few difficult conversations.
And difficult conversations don't mean they're not arguments. It's not a conflict. It's just conversations. Actually, maybe we should probably define it. Difficult conversations are just conversations that I guess probably are difficult to have, as the name implies. Okay, no, seriously. What I mean is conversations that are not easy. You'd rather not have, but need to be had.
But needs to be had, yeah.
So it could be an example, I guess, of a difficult conversation. Could be, say, maybe you have maybe my husband, or maybe I have a family member coming over, for instance, and they want to stay over in our house for maybe an amount of time. And maybe I'm not comfortable with that particular family member, but he loves this family member so much, and so I don't know, but I'm just saying that. And so because of that, we're having to have a conversation about this visit, or this impending visit. So that's a difficult conversation. It's a conversation you can't run away from, because it's
another difficult conversation could be if the Lord is laying it on my heart to sow £10,000 to the next person that comments. And I know
so make sure you leave that comment now.
I know that we necessarily don't have the £10,000 in our account, or even if we did, we have it earmarked for something. And a difficult conversation would be trying to get my wife's approval, or sell it to her. That could conveniently be a difficult conversation. But yeah, you get the gist.
Yeah. Okay, so having said that, now how do we have difficult I remember the very first difficult conversation I think we had. Again, not taking it to social media, but you probably don't remember, but I think this was like a few weeks into our marriage, and I remember like how I responded to that situation was not the most
perhaps 31 woman.
Yeah, was not the best way. But I think I've grown in for almost 1.5 years now. But I remember the way I reacted, it could have been handled better. So how do we handle difficult conversations, and then how should we handle difficult conversations?
So how we handle difficult conversations, as you can tell, I'm not the person that talks the most.
Can they tell?
If you check the videos, you see that I'm only on a few. So
okay.
I don't talk as much as she does. So that means that I probably say half of the things that she would say when we're having a conversation, except something I'm very passionate about. So most times when we're having difficult conversations, she's speaking about it. Also, my kind of person is also I am used to internalizing, which is not necessarily
Processing.
the best thing to do as in some cases. And
It's not a bad thing, but there's a time. I guess there's time. There's a time and place for everything.
so oftentimes Tommy goes on about, whatever she wants to talk about, especially if she's the one starting the conversation. And then I listen, I'm very proactive. I try to think through, I try to process what my response would generate from her. And I think that further triggers her.
So now, here's the issue. Here's the issue. So I bring up an issue that I think this is a difficult conversation that needs to be had, or just a conversation really that needs to be had, or something I'm unhappy about, and I go on and on and I say, and I end. My darling husband here has been listening to the conversation the whole time. I can tell he's been listening because maybe, for instance, we're driving. So you're obviously listening to me. You're not doing anything, and I know that. And I finish. I end the conversation, and he keeps quiet. That's it. Like there's no acknowledgement, no nothing. Like I know he's heard me because he's not deaf. Sorry, because that's an insensitive comment. But yeah, I know he's heard me, but he says nothing about it. Now, for as far as he's concerned, is processing it, is internalizing it. But my problem with that is that you don't tell me that, okay, I've heard you, I will come back to you at X time. You just somehow assume that I should know by now that you're processing. And I think that's unfair.
I hear your point. I don't agree in the sense that I think if you know a person, you probably know how they respond to things. And if you go on with everything that you said, it might be a lot for me to process. I might have figured it out in my head what the right answer would be, and I know that it will probably not sit well with you. And at that point in time, there's a lot going on in my head. And in fact, to be honest, there's sometimes that I respond to you in my mind. But obviously, I understand that you are not in my mind. So,
and then oftentimes, I think what you tend to say is that oftentimes your initial response is not very gracious, right?
Might not be.
So that's part of why you internalize. So that's what you've said in the past.
That's part of being proactive. So I'm thinking ahead. So why, because sometimes it might be the genuine truth. And it might be the solution to the matter, but at that point in time, I know you don't want to hear that. So it's not that it is wrong, it's just the timing. And I guess what I need to work on is communicating that. Acknowledging and then communicating when you would get a response to that.
Absolutely. And I think I also do, I guess I need to understand the fact that I'm the one bringing the issue. So obviously I've had time to process it, I've thought about it. Yeah. So now I'm coming, like I'm ready, like I have my 4 pages essay and dissertation on this
it would do me good if you send me an email prior and say, let's have this conversation tomorrow at 4 p.m.
It's not that
These
serious.
are my points.
It's not that serious. But even if it was that serious a conversation that you needed to have, I think one of the things that maybe one of the points that you should take away from this is that if you're the one bringing up the conversation, you have processed it, you have had time to think about it, even if it was just 1 minute, like this other person probably hasn't. They may have, you may think, oh, they were there when it happened, they just happened right now, like why? But they may not, their mind may be on other things, right? So they haven't had time to process this like you have. So if they don't want to respond at that time, I think I say we because I'm the one at the receiving end. We should be nice enough to like respect, or we should just respect the decision. But as long as you as at the receiving end of the conversation, or you that needs to respond to that conversation, communicate the fact that you acknowledge what has been said and you will come back at a certain time. I think it's all about communication, what we've said. It's at just the end of the day, it's communicating.
And sometimes, I'm just talking about difficult conversations we had. She sees it as a difficult conversation and I don't. And
I'm trying to think of an example of something that okay, carry on.
Say, for example, I think there was a project we were working on and we wanted to paint the skirting boards and the door frames a certain color.
No, those are not difficult conversations. Those are just conversations I'm not ready to have because my mind is somewhere else.
No, so we've had the conversation and you were not happy with it. Now the project needs to go on. And now I'm bringing back that conversation. It becomes a difficult conversation because you haven't still processed it, or you've chosen that you want a certain type of
Okay,
color scheme.
so why do I get to respect your decision not to respond, and you don't get to respect my decision not to respond? If I'm saying, okay, I'll come back to you, like, I don't want to talk about it now, just giving time, like,
Because there's a timeline.
Yeah, but like,
so the
can't
builder
just put under pressure like that.
Because it's actually happened. There was a project we were doing.
Yeah, I know.
And the builder went on, which is going to cost us money and
No,
time.
it didn't go on. No, like, sometimes the way you come at it, sometimes, especially I think for you, it's particularly when it comes to things. By the way, we are property investors, developers. So yeah, we are in business together as well as other things that we do. So I think for you, it's more been about, like, when it comes to, like, property, like, decisions in property. Obviously, he's doing it, well, not obviously, he's doing it full time. So he's having, like, that's what he's thinking about day to night. Like, I'm thinking about it, but I still have, like, my 9 to 5. I still have other things, like, I'm thinking about as well. So if I say, if you come in right now and you're like, oh, what color should we paint this curtain? And I'm like, I just don't, like, maybe I've been working. Like, I think about it, thinking about it now. It's probably, like, times where I've worked all day. And then now it's like 7 p.m. and I'm just like, I just need me time. Like, just let me just do whatever I want to do. Me time for me means, I don't know, scrolling on my phone. I just want to lie down. I want to watch something on YouTube or something. I just want to do anything that has nothing to do with anything. I want to do anything that is not, I guess you can say maybe it's not productive. But I mean, the videos can be.
That's the exact issue I have. No. I don't get how anybody just wants to while away time.
I think this video is actually showing that we're still figuring out how to have difficult conversations. But yeah, my question is, why can't you be gracious enough to give me like 1 hour, 2 hours till the next day? But then like, babe, sometimes you just like I said you want it now, and then I'm like, I don't know, like, I'm not thinking about it. I don't want to think about it. My brain has been working. Just give me a break.
I think thinking about it, for me, when I bring this kind of conversations up, I usually try to give a set of reasons why I think this is good. So most times I expect you to just jump on it because you trust. I've done this before. You trust that I'm good with my brain is working perfectly fine, so there's no reason not to trust it. And this is my mindset sometimes, which, to be honest, it might be a yes, but I think it's the pressure of, we need that answer now.
So how can we I think the question for me is, how can we undo this in this particular scenario? How can we handle it better?
I think when I'm bringing up something, I need to be conscious of the fact that, yes, you probably want to have, you're doing other things, you're preoccupied with other things.
Even if it's things that you don't consider productive, just allow me.
Okay.
Allow me. And I think what we can do is have a timeline. Yes. Have a timeline and say, okay, that's fine. I was like, okay, I don't want to talk about it right now. I'm not saying it as, well, obviously, to be honest, like, I mean, when I'm saying it, I don't say it like this.
If you said it like this, I'll yeah, that's fine.
No, I'm just like, how do I say it? I was like, can we talk about it later? I'm like, I don't know. Like, yeah, it's probably more like, I don't know. Can we talk about it later? Yeah, it's probably later without a timeline. So I will give you a timeline and say, okay, I'm going to come back to you in 30 minutes or like tomorrow. And then if the timing doesn't work, you let me know. We communicate. Okay? So you listen, I speak, you speak, I listen. So I think, yeah, that's
communication.
Communication is absolutely, I think we've gone over that over and over again. But then when it comes to things that, I think one of the things I want to say is that I think it's never a good idea to raise your voice at each other. I think it's something that should never be done. If I feel like we have raised our voice, I have.
So let's set the pedestal. When you raise your voice in conversation, so in communication, is oftentimes because you're passionate about it, and you're trying to communicate the passion. Okay. So that's why if you think about it, the only reasons you raise your voice when it's not like you're trying to attack somebody is because you're trying to pass a message across.
No, I'm talking about when you're raising your voice because you're probably upset at the person or upset at what has happened. So this is not so much about like passion. I'm passionate about property, so I'm like, saying, no, we need to know. It's more like, especially when it's, okay guys, especially when it's stuff like the person has done something. So this difficult conversation that you're having is with the person that is at fault. So there's anger involved. There is maybe resentment or unforgiveness, just like a bunch of things, right? I think my point was just I want people to, or ideally I feel like in marriage, like you should never really raise your voice at each other. I think it's just a slippery slope. Like it starts from raising your voice, and then like it just seems like it seems a bit toxic.
So if you say generally in marriage you shouldn't raise your voice
At each other,
I think it might be too broad. So if you're talking about things passionately, yes, you raise your voice, you know, and it's just the same way people are watching football and they're raising their voice. It's not because they're unhappy with each other. It's just the passion that is driving that. But when it comes to things like anger, like you said, resentment, I don't even think you should allow that fester in marriage.
Yeah.
Because I remember we had a conversation recently where you were bringing up things that, something happened, you asked me to do something, and I had had a very long day. I'd done probably 3 over 4, and you said I should do the 4th one. I'm like, really? And you just got wild up. And then the issue wasn't what you asked me to do. It was things that you are bottled up.
Yeah.
Which is what usually happens. And then when you responded...
And I think that's the second point. Don't bottle things up. Have the conversations. Carry it.
When you responded, if I responded with the same fire,
energy, with the same energy
that you did, you know, that would have easily become
something else altogether.
So,
and the truth of that matter was that my response had absolutely nothing to do with what I asked you to do. It was a build up of the other things that were totally unrelated, but like in my head, like maybe it's devil, like I've been like starting to magnify it, and I'm kind of building like blocks upon blocks and thinking castles. Like literally building castles around this whole idea or this whole issue that I'm having that I have not spoken about, because I'm trying to wait it out and see. And then the moment there was an opening, or he just said, "Oh no," I'm just like, that's it. And now we go. But I think that's the second point. So the first point is about communicating. Communicating involves speaking, listening, very important. But number 2 is have those conversations. Don't sweep it under the rug. It just doesn't go away. So it's not every single conversation that you will have, but when it is something that is important, when it's something that is affecting you that way, if it's something that you're having to think about over and over again, you're in marriage, like you need to be able to discuss it with each other. If you're not free enough to have such conversations, maybe there are other deeper issues that you need to be focusing on, but don't sweep it under the carpet.
And sometimes I found out that there are some things that we've had a conversation, I'm not happy with the response I got. I think you cannot you cannot underestimate the place of prayer and the guidance of the Holy Spirit.
Absolutely.
And I've seen this work for me a lot of times, especially earlier on in the marriage, when I would feel like I was wronged, and then I'm praying about it, or I'm just meditating, and the Holy Spirit says, go and apologize, and then that just doesn't make sense. I mean, I apologize, and then we have the conversation afterwards, but it's a more relaxed environment. It's almost as if I've diffused the situation, but it's not something that I would have thought of myself. It was probably the leading of the Holy Spirit that got me there.
And oftentimes I'll come back and say, without any prompting, I'm like, oh, you're actually right. And then that's the place of prayer and the Holy Spirit, because at the end of the day, there's nothing, like, I can't change him. Like, he has a father. God is his father, and God has the heart of kings in his hands. So he has his own heart in his hands. So if I take it to God and say, God, this thing's really affecting me, or this behavior, or this thing, like, God can turn his heart, like he can change his heart. So I take it to God in prayer. Of course, I speak to him, I do everything. Or, maybe first and foremost, you want to go to God. I think the third and final point that we will give in this video is that I want to talk about, the setting the environment in which you have the conversations. So I remember, we went to Maldives about 4 months ago, and I remember just being there and just like, oh my god, like this place is so serene, and I was just thinking, I imagine married couples coming here, if they had issues, for instance, because of how peaceful and how it was such a beautiful place, how peaceful, how beautiful it was. I just thought you can have good conversations here. And I just use that to say that you should kind of, especially if it's like really serious stuff, you don't have to have it like there and then. You don't have to have it if it's not something that is time bound that you take it. What you can take yourselves away, not necessarily a holiday. Maybe it's at dinner. Maybe it's just somewhere that is serene.
Childcare.
Yeah, get childcare.
Just be by yourself.
Yeah, go somewhere where you're relaxed. Nobody's like thinking about like, oh, the children are falling over, or nobody's thinking about I have to respond to this email. Like there's nothing. If as much as you can, like take away like the things that would normally be like cause pressure, cause like I guess pressure, like take away those things away, and it's just both of you where you can. Again, you don't want intruders. This is not things that will be on social media. So it's just two of you. You're not recording, you're not filming it. It's just two of you having a conversation and in a relaxed atmosphere. It's amazing the things that like going on holiday does for you. But even aside from holiday, it's just time like where your brain can think, the pressures are off as much as possible.
So just a touch point that you hit when you were talking about this is the fact that what causes, if you notice that you're having to argue, have difficult conversations, back to back, sometimes it might actually just be stress.
Yes.
So you going on holiday, you putting things aside,
may even make the conversations irrelevant.
Yeah. So sometimes if you notice that you are getting to that point, you probably just want to distress, and however you do it, it could be
therapy, window shopping, do something
it could be
together.
Going for a run,
go to the spa,
go
for a massage, go on holiday, book a night away together. Well, if it's something you need to do together, or maybe just something that both of you need to do separately, as in maybe me time or whatever. I think the third point is like the environment in which you have the conversation. So again, sorry, you going to say something?
Yeah, just a bonus point to say that whenever you have a difficult conversation, try to separate the person from the situation. That is always difficult, especially when it's in the heat of the moment. But just remember that I'm married to this person. We're on the same team. It's not a battle.
It's not me against him. It's us together.
It's
us against the world.
Separate the situation, isolate the situation, deal with the situation as opposed to the person, because that's when you start calling names. But by the time you start saying you're stupid, yes, person might have done something stupid, but it doesn't make them stupid. Right.
I mean, that's easier said than done, but that's an absolutely crucial point. Like, separate the person from the situation. Okay, and having said all of that, I know like some difficult conversations have roots of it's not just this one thing that's happened. It's a character flaw that we've seen that you've had for years and years and years, and if that is, and maybe you've had conversations over and over again and nothing has changed, I think you can speak to someone about it. Someone being maybe a pastor, a counselor.
You can seek therapy. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it.
But don't I think the danger is like just bottling it up and thinking like I must have all the answers, I must be able to fix it all by myself. Of course, we've talked about the place of prayer and all of that, but having said all of that, if you still haven't seen any changes and it's affecting you, and you'll continue to think about it, absolutely speak to someone. No man is an island. We're not created.
No woman is an island.
We're not created to exist on our own. We're not created to have all the answers. That's why the Bible compares us to the body, and it says it compares us, by us I mean Christians, like to the body, and it says the hand has a function, the heart has a function, the eyes have a function, and each they all contribute and make this body function as it is. So if you have a problem, there's nothing wrong in you getting an answer from someone else, right? Just make sure that you're speaking to the right people. I think that's the
and as you wrap this up, remember that two shall chase 1,000. Sorry, one shall chase 1,000 and two shall chase 10,000. So when you are in a place where you are not agreeing, you're disagreeing, your power, your exponential power to achieve results begins to diminish, and that's where the devil wants to attack you from. So you need to remember, or attack your marriage, that you guys need to be agreed to make things move in the right direction. But thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. So just to summarize, number one, communicate. Communicate involves speaking and listening. Number two, don't sweep things under the carpet.
Yeah.
Make sure you have
the
those conversations.
Yeah.
They just won't go away. Number 3 is to have the conversations in a suitable environment. And the bonus point was what was the bonus point that you gave? Separate the situation from the person. Okay, all right, that brings us to the end of the video. I'm sure that you've enjoyed this conversation as much as I have, because I feel like we also have taking things away from this video ourselves. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Let us know what you think about this video. What do you think about the points that we mentioned?
And let's know how you have your difficult conversations.
Exactly. And give examples as well.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Yeah. And if you're currently in a place where you really need help, you don't know what to do, again, like our contact details are in the comment section. You can either leave a comment, or you can just, email me or DM me, slide into my DM, slide into his DM, and we'll be more than happy, to answer you or to signpost you to where you can get an answer. Okay, all right, thank you so much for watching. I'm Tommy Daniels.
And I'm Seyi Daniels.
Goodbye.
Bye.